And so I face the final curtain. My friends, I'll say it clear. I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway and more. Much more than this. All right, let's see what's going on today. Like I say, I've listed a few topics in the title here today, but as always, we can talk about anything you guys want. Those are just things that happen to be interesting me right at the moment. Hey, Callum, and Red Wolf, and Connor's here, and John McTavish, and Tide says, "Put me under Genjutsu, Daddy." Oh, I would be. It's a good thing that hypnosis doesn't actually work like Genjutsu, because I would be totally irresponsible with it. But then again, you guys knew that. Lick says, "Damn, wrestling and hypnosis. This porno is going to be sick." Oh, come on, Licks. This can't be groundbreaking. It's got to be. It's got to be covered out there already, I'm sure. Yeah, you can talk about porn, Connor. Madman says, "Just out of curiosity, what got you into hypnosis?" I had always been interested in it, and that goes back to being a kid, and especially back in the day, a lot of TV and movies. Hypnosis was always an easy way to further a plot along. For a villain or something like that, to get a bunch of people under your control. So having seen that, it always interested me. And then back in would have been the mid '80s, when I was doing stand up, I was doing stand up for a living at the time. I worked with this really terrible magician, but he also did hypnosis. And that's what really started piquing my interest, because I went to him. I said, "Hey, I've always been interested in this. Think you could show me how to do this?" He goes, "Yeah, I'll show you how to do it." And I asked him immediately, it's like, "Well, how does it work?" He goes, I don't know." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, what actually happens, when you put somebody in a state of hypnosis?" I don't know. Somebody had shown him how to do inductions, and he was a shitty magician. So it was a way for him to engage an audience, since his magic wasn't doing the trick. And that got me started. I learned how to do an induction, but I didn't know what was going on. And so I started trying to research it for myself, learn more about it. And there was very little information at the time. And in hindsight, what there was, a lot of it was wrong. So it was like a lifelong thing, learning more about it. But now that there's been upper level collegiate studies on it, my favorite one is a Stanford study from 2016. We understand a lot more of how it works. Luke says, "So your motive for learning hypnosis was to become a supervillain?" Not surprising. Same reason I let the spiders bite me all the time, Licks. I'm staying consistent here. I'm hoping one of those fuckers is tainted somehow. He's been playing in a cesspool of like nuclear glop or something. This is how you win fights. No, I was never that good at it, Jack. Usually the fights, as far as the mind being involved in my fights, was just because I was really good at headbutts. That's about as far as it went there. Did you know you work with Chris Angel? Oh, this guy was terrible though. This magician, because I am a big sucker when it comes to magic. I don't know how magic works, and I'm pretty fascinated by it. I like watching it. But you can do I don't know how to do it. You can do that removable thumb thing, and just amaze the shit out of me. I'm like, "Oh my God, your thumb came off." I don't know it. And I knew it was readily apparent to me how he was doing most all of his tricks. He was just bad. Red Wolf says, "Did you see everyone getting all mad that Punk was backstage at WWE and Impact while they were in Chicago? Everyone thinking he's sucking up to Trips, but I think he was just visiting friends, to be honest." Yeah. It's like, what would, I was going to say wrestling, but what would any industry or grouping of people be without drama? Yeah, it could be he was just hanging out with the boys, and it could be, listen, it's Punk. It could be he did it on purpose, knowing that it would create a kerfuffle. And creating a kerfuffle is always a good thing. That would be more my thought on it. I think he did it on purpose. Mago says, thoughts on Gunther? Not a huge fan. Nothing against him. As I said, anybody that reaches that level of the business, you will not ever hear me shitting on them. They've worked their asses off to get there. I have nothing but respect for that. But if you're asking me as a fan, strictly as a fan, I don't find him that interesting. He's an okay worker. You know, he's a good wrestler. He's decent. His looks nothing special. His moveset is certainly nothing special. He's very vanilla to me. And again, it's important for me to say I'm not trying to shit on him. It's just my opinion as a fan. Apparently, not everyone shares that opinion because he's doing quite well. Jack says, I keep pouring nuclear waste on my penis to make it go Hulk. Let me know if it works. I'm sure I can find some nuclear waste around here. Thoughts on MJF? I like him. He can wrestle a match. He can work a match. I think he plays the heel gimmick really, really well. I like the guy. Hey, Chrome says, oh, hey, no notification. What a shocker, huh, Chrome? Who would have ever thought? Mortem says, I used to like John Cena, but now I prefer Undertaker. I like both of those guys. Undertaker is one of my all-time favorites. So if we're talking more modern era, my favorite wrestler of all time is from my childhood would be Bruno Sammartino. But if we're talking the more modern era, my favorite is clearly The Undertaker. Mark Calloway. Oh, it's amazing. But I like Cena too. My favorite current wrestler would probably be one of the women. The women are kicking ass right now. Probably Asuka. As far as, hearing a name and saying, oh, shit, I got to watch this match because it's going to be good, it'd be Asuka. For the guys, and I know a lot of people don't agree, it would probably be Lesnar. I love watching Lesnar's matches. He puts a lot into his matches. The big Scottish guy. Why does his name always go out of my head? I think he works the shit out of a match too. He's not getting the push he deserves. He did for a while. Kobe says, I got notified probably the first time the stream has been this early. We've been back, like, in the past, we used to stream, I'd get it started around noon or a little after a lot, and then it just moved later and later into the day just as my schedule got more and more full. Drew McIntyre. Thanks, Jack. Yeah, I like Drew McIntyre. I wish they'd push him more. He's fun to watch. They're called Sheamus. Well, Sheamus is the big Irish guy. Drew McIntyre's the big Scottish guy, Chrome. It was fun for Brax and I. We went to was it a house show? No, I think it was a Raw taping or something back in Albany, New York. And one of the dark matches before the telecast started was Sheamus. And it was the first we'd ever seen of him. He wasn't even being shown on TV yet or anything. He'd just gotten there. And we're watching, and I told Brax at the time, I said, holy shit, this guy's good. They got to have plans for him, and they did. Chrome says, by the way, the Mario movie officially passed 1 billion yesterday. So now it's in the top 10 highest grossing animated films, basically, and the 48th highest grossing film of all time now in growth. Yeah, I was going to say, and it's still got a ways to go. Wow. Wow, that's amazing. A Raw taping, Lex? AJ Styles, Negan? AJ Styles, just a phenomenal worker. Incredible wrestler. Dawson says, what are your thoughts on Dominic Mysterio's career progression so far? Career progression? Spot on. I was never a big fan of the kid, but now I got to admit, the way he's playing the heel, the way he's playing this, obnoxious douchebag heel is to perfection. Again, you got to give credit where it's due. He's crushing it with this gimmick, and it is due to the fact of how he's putting it over. Nacho says, funnily enough, Nintendo basically admitted the bad press from salty losers only served to promote the Mario movie. Well, look what happened to Nacho with the Harry Potter game. The whole boycott thing, boy, did that ever buoy sales. I like Randy Orton too, Negan. Yeah, and the whole the RK Bro was a great angle, really really good angle. I did see on SmackDown they had the Street Profits go over in that what was it, four-way dance with four tag teams were in it, I think. But anyway, I like seeing that. Those guys are fun to watch too, and they were always like the WWE has had them right there, the next level under the guys who are getting the belts, and I think they deserve a run with them again. I think they had one, but they deserve another run with them. Chrome says, yeah, Mario's creator, Shigeru Miyamoto, said that negative reviews from critics just helped as free promotion to drum up interest. I'm a big believer in that. Again, we look at what we saw with that Harry Potter game. It's undeniable that's exactly what you want to have happen sometimes. Oh, speaking of the hypnosis, I'm going to show you guys something. I'm going to be doing hypnosis shows again, and I built a website for promotion. Would you guys, if you got a second here, just want to take a look at it for me. See if there's anything that you think is missing, or if you were looking to book the show, is there something there that you think I'm missing out on posting? It's Curtis Candy, as you can see, CurtisCandyHypnosis.com. Pretty easy to remember. What's that? I got an ad explaining to me that mega means massive. That's an interesting ad, I gotta admit. It's like sponsored by Webster's Dictionary or something. Chrome says that Harry Potter situation blew up in their face. I mean, not only is it now the highest selling next-gen game, it's also the reason we're now getting an HBO Max series remake of the Harry Potter books. I heard about that. Yeah, it entirely blew up in their face. And because to me, it's a silly reason to boycott the game. We've, as a group, we've had those conversations all the time about separating the creator from the creation. So Dick says, I'm not the biggest fan of the current state of wrestling. I've been watching old Smoky Mountain Wrestling, and it's a million times better. That was some good stuff. I like the way they've been turning more recently. They had put me off it for quite a while with the writing, but I'm getting more into it now. Shame the Harry Potter game was successful. It's one of the few boycotts that's actually justified. Do you think so, Lex? I mean, again, my take on that stuff is I separate politics from a creator's politics from their creations all the time. There are so many people in Hollywood, for instance, whose politics I am vehemently opposed to. But to me, that's a separate issue than watching their movie or something. But you have to understand too, people, that was always going to be the Harry Potter game boycott. That was always going to be an uphill battle because just percentage wise, the groups that were really offended by it are too small a percentage to have any real effect on the game, and they have so many antagonists, that small group, people that just don't like them. You could almost see the writing on the wall how that was going to work out. Hi says website mostly looks decent to me. Well, good. Thank you. I appreciate it. I want to be, as you can see, very simple. It's just about getting the word out about booking the show. That's, I don't want a lot of bells and whistles and stuff. I want it to be very basic. Retro Mint Man says I know a lot of wrestlers in the 80s and 90s resorted to painkillers. 80s, 90s, 2000s, yes. I'm curious, how did you cope with the pain and after effects of wrestling? Um, I'm fortunate that I have a high tolerance for pain. When I, of course, in wrestling, you're always getting banged up. You're always getting beat up. I've been injured fairly seriously a couple times. They gave me hydros on a number of occasions, and I always ended up flushing them. I think I took them maybe twice. I don't like taking pain medication. My mind's fucked up enough as it is. I don't need to be out of my mind as well. But what I do is just basically deal with it. When some of the pains get bad, like I've been struggling with my back the last couple days, where I had torn muscles from the bone, and it flares up every so often. I usually just take Advil, Tylenol, something like that if it gets bad enough. But a lot of the guys get hooked on painkillers, and I never wanted to. That's why I wouldn't take. Again, I maybe twice I took them. I never thought of it. And I'd flush those things down the toilet. You know how much those freaking pills are worth on the street? Yeah. Nolan says Curtis coped with anime booba. If I was into anime at the time, I clearly would have done that. No question, Nolan. Sara says I'm a lefty shill. You know this. I know this. Everyone here must know it by now. And J.K. Rowling is a bitch. She's funded anti-LGBT organizations, but she was prepaid. You're only hurting the devs. Yeah, see, I don't know a lot. I've heard that from a lot of people, Solaris. I didn't know if that was true or not, but I do know. Yeah, it would be hurting the people who work on the game and produce the game. Oh, there's a lot of people involved in the production of a game of that magnitude, and just because of as I said, the numbers game, it was just never going to work out well. It just wasn't. You have to take into account how many people. Now, there's a lot of people that don't care for Rowling's views on the LGBT community. But within that group, there's only a small percentage of them that are vehement enough to want to take part in a boycott. And then when you figure how many people are diametrically opposed to that same small group, you could see it coming. Johnny says, yeah, JK is an actual bigot, so fuck her, but HP has too many loyal fans for a boycott to work. Right, and what happens too, Johnny, a lot of people just are tired of all the boycotting. You saw a lot of that. There are a lot of people saying it online, and some people with big followings saying, I wasn't going to play the game, but I'm going to now because I'm tired of everything being a boycott. Now, whether that's right or wrong, it's still what happened. Lick says, yeah, now because of the game doing well, we've let people put Rowling on a pedestal. We're getting that new show which she has direct creative control of and makes direct money off. Does she? I figured she had to be more directly involved. I don't know the money trail on these things unless you guys tell me. I haven't looked that deeply into it. But yeah, I know as Chrome had brought up, I know the show is really being hyped a lot. But there's so many millions of Harry Potter fans. Yeah, that's interesting. I know that too, Chrome. She says, like, J.K. Rowling is pretty much left on all issues outside of trans issues. That's true, too. Or at least she always was. She hasn't changed. I don't think she's changed her stance on those things recently, has she? But I know she always was. I mean, in fairness, until the whole thing with trans community came up, she was a darling of those on the left. They loved her. No one says, I for one think the word boy cot is offensive. Like, what the fuck? Chrome says, oh, she'll make a ton of money. J.K. Rowling has one of the most airtight contracts in entertainment. She makes a direct profit and percentage of basically everything she makes. You can't. I mean, like her or hate her, you certainly can't blame her for that. It's all her creations, and she's got a massive, massive audience. Yeah, call it a person cop, right, Big Green? Lick says it's funny to me how all the transphobes and bigots are supporting Rowling when not a few years ago they were villainizing her because of the whole Dumbledore gay situation. Right, but that's how everything is now, Lex. When you think about it, and you can turn that around. Those on the left were a huge fan, as I said, of Rowling for ages, and then the whole thing with the trans community came up, and it was like they've turned on her. So that's just the nature of life now. That's the way it is. Everybody's on a team. We talk about that, here in the chats all the time. And I would say here in the U.S., but it seems it's pretty much worldwide. It's all about teams. Excuse me. You think so, Dick? She says J.K. is buddy-buddy with far right people. That left shit is an act. Yeah, but isn't she also buddy-buddy with a lot of far left people as well? Or at least she always seemed to be. I mean, somebody in those situations, being as high profile as she is, you would think that you're going to have plenty of, even if not buddies, plenty of acquaintances on both sides of the aisle. It'd be almost impossible not to, wouldn't it? Austin says, favorite faction? Probably the originals, the Four Horsemen. That was some good shit. As much as Tully and I didn't get along, the Four Horsemen. Chrome says, God, no, J.K. Rowling isn't right wing. You live in false reality if you believe that. See, that's what I'm saying. I know she had always had extreme left beliefs. I was shocked when she became this lightning rod, because I'd seen it in her. For whatever reason, because I don't follow her. I'm never even seen Harry Potter. I would like to. I just haven't yet. I would see her posts, and as Chrome had mentioned, they were always comfortably to the left. Lex says, I don't know about that. Most of her left-leaning act always seemed like pandering to me, and a lot of others noticed that as well. I've never seen anyone defending her on the left. Not defending her, but I've seen lots of people on the left that were huge fans of hers, again, before the whole issue with trans people. That's why I was shocked to see it, because she was known to... But why would... That doesn't make sense to me, though. Why would she pander to either side? When, at that point in her life, she is already so well established. It doesn't seem to make sense why she would want to pander, again, not just to the left, to either side. Yeah, like Jack says, you go back a few years, and she was absolutely a darling to the left, because she championed a lot of left causes. Rosalina says, this is what happens when you have to choose between left and right. Just decide the winner by single combat, like in 1072. And that's what it is now. As we said, everything is teams. It's never been this divided, not in all my years of walking around the planet. It's really, really bad. Jack said she was annoying to me. She was so left. Yeah, well, that's what I had seen, Jack, again, in her posts and everything. Chrome says, no, even now she's uber left. She's a rad femme. It's literally just the trans issue. And she's only gotten more adamant on that issue after some activists began harassing her in her family home. Well, and that's typically going to be when either side, again, let's not just point at the left, but when either the extremists on either side come at someone, there are two options. One, they can either just back out away from the spotlight altogether and just try and wash their hands of everything, or they're going to fight back. So, because you're putting pinning people in a corner. Rick says, hang on, I have Chinese food. I'm a bit distracted. I just had beef fried rice for lunch. Excuse me. As a matter of fact, I'm belching beef fried rice as we speak. Christopher says, "What a world now, and all I can see is the future." And Jack says, "People are gray usually, not black and white. Racism, am I right? It's people who feel the need to categorize so they can understand." Yeah, but I think Jack recently, well, not think it bears out. We've never had people so entrenched in camps. You know, you've always had the left and the right in this country, at least throughout my lifetime. But I've never seen, and this is on both sides, I've never seen as much of an unwillingness to have anything to do with what the other side says. And that's what really holds us up. Because I lean right, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that there aren't platitudes, there aren't stances on the left, there aren't at least bits and pieces of things that I'm like, yeah, that's not a bad idea right there. But that never happens. If the right comes up with the idea, whatever it may be, the left is going to shoot it down. If the left comes up with the idea, no matter what it may be, the right's going to shoot it down. I mean, the other day, I saw a video. It was on, I can't think of his name. One of the right-wing commentators' Twitters, and he reposted or retweeted this video that this lady made, and it was about Disney World, because of course the right hates Disney now because of the fight they're in with DeSantis. So he reposted this video, and it was this woman. You don't see her, she just shows videos from her Disney trip, and all she does is bitch about the outrageous cost. And she goes on and on about how much this costs, that costs, how much this costs, and Disney's just raping people basically, and he was delighted to repost that to show the evil villainy of Disney. As a regular Disney goer, she was so full of shit. She went through and did everything at the high upper end. She got the primo everything that Disney offers. Her kids wanted lightsabers. Does she go in one of the stores and buy the lightsabers that you can get for $15-20 each? No. She went to Star Wars Land, where you go in and you have a whole experience. You go into this class that's set up like the world of Star Wars, and you make your own lightsaber from the very beginning, and they have they have big pomp and circumstance for you. Well, of course that costs a lot of money. You didn't need to do that to buy a lightsaber. She complained about the cost of her breakfast, but she went to a character meal. She could have gone to Boma, which is a phenomenal, incredible buffet, but it doesn't have characters. It's just phenomenal food for less than half the cost. And at the very end, she talks about, and then there was our night at the hotel for $900 and some odd dollars. You can go get one of the rooms at the All-Stars for $120. For right around $100 during off-peak season. She's full of shit. But again, it fit Matt Walsh. It fit Matt Walsh's particular viewpoint at the time, or he thinks it leveraged what he was trying to say about Disney being evil, so he reposts it. But that goes on all the time. It was crazy. She's an idiot. She complained about how much it costs, and she bought the most expensive everything you could buy at Disney World. Jack says exactly. Okay, XD. Jack Queen says exactly. If they're right and you're left, they're wrong and evil and vice versa. It's almost like we're only able to categorize now. If they hate something, critical thinking goes away and screw them. Yeah, it goes on all the time. Chrome says, to be fair, my family is rather well off. My dad thought Disney was kind of overly expensive, especially when the staff felt a little lacking. Really? Not the character actors, by the way, general staff. Wow. You had a definite different experience than we've had, Chrome. I'm not interested in this. The reason we keep going back is the staff. And yeah, Disney, I'm not saying Disney's not expensive. I'm saying Disney is not any more, at least here in America, is not any more expensive than other resorts if you do things at the moderate level. You can go to Disney and way overspend, there's no doubt. For instance, um, the last time we had, when I lived in New York, the Saratoga race course, where um, they have the whole summer meet for some of the best thoroughbreds in the country. We used to like to go up there, or I used to go up there all the time. At the time, a big bottle of water cost $2.75 in Disney World. It cost $5.50, exactly freaking double at the track. I would go over to the track and get a couple of slices of pizza and a drink, and it would cost $22, $23. I could get a whole meal at one of the quick service joints in Disney for under $17, $18 at the time. So is it expensive? Yes, if you're comparing it to day-to-day life, absolutely. Is it expensive as resort areas go? Not really. Not if you look for the deals. Now, if you do decide you want to stay, in the Grand Floridian Hotel, and again, you want to go into that workshop to make the lightsabers, and you want to do all those extras and all your meals, you want to have characters there. Yeah, it's gonna be really expensive. Really, that's unfortunate, Chrome. We go, regularly, and I've never had issues with the cast members. Well, I mean, once in a while, I get somebody who isn't overly ambitious about their job, but even that was rare. But that's why, for me, more than the rest of my family, for me, that's why I go back. The staff has never been anything but freaking amazing to us. And as a matter of fact, I'm surprised because Disney, I'll give them credit for that. They tell their employees, because I've talked to a lot of the employees, they explain to them that customer service is what makes Disney World what it is, blah, blah, blah. If you're not interested in giving customers a quality experience, this job is not for you. They're told that. Everybody is told that. So if you have complaints like that about people, that Disney does tend to get rid of them, which again is understandable because none of the employees can say they didn't know. It's told right from day one, this is what we do and this is how we want you to act. If you're not that type of person, this job isn't for you. Yeah, Jerry Springer did pass, Zuchen. Yeah, I heard about that. He had some great days in the old Jerry Springer show, wasn't it? really, there really was some fun times with some true white trash. Nolan says, my only memory of Disney is crying like a baby and being inseparable from Ariel. My stepdaughter, my older stepdaughter, yeah, the Little Mermaid was her go-to when she was young. Chrome says, to put it bluntly, the two issues were kind of a lack of staff, partly because they were pushing their pay app thing, and the second was some of the staff was pretty obviously stupid to cause problems. Oh, that's too bad. Now, see, I have had on the phone with Disney at their corporate, setting things up, I've had staff that was not too knowledgeable. I've not had any that were rude or difficult to deal with, but I on two different occasions, I told them, listen, I know more about this than you do. This was a mistake calling and I've hung up. But they weren't rude or anything. They just didn't know. So that I can believe, but I've never seen that in the parks. I haven't experienced that in the parks. The staff in the parks, see, they're told in training too, they will never tell you, I don't know, if you have a question about Disney. They'll say, let me find somebody who does. So I've never had any issues with people being knowledgeable. We've had a lot of times where we've had a question about something and they'll call right on the radios or what have you and get us the answer. But I have had that issue on the phone. Jack says Ariel was hot for a fish. Truth. Nitron says apparently Jerry Springer show was a work that I felt sure a lot of those interactions were works that employed wrestlers, and Jamie Dundee was a booker. I didn't know that. That's kind of cool. That doesn't surprise me. You could see that a lot of it was worked up. Rick says Ariel gives amazing head shame. Gives amazing head shame about the fish pussy though. Nacho says the left suddenly doesn't want the new Hermione to blame because they're leaning on what subtext is. Book Hermione has details that make it funny. Okay, okay. Oh, so to let the new Hermione to be black because they're leaning what subtext is. Book Hermione has details that make it funny. Really? See, I don't. Again, I haven't. I know that who the characters are because Harry Potter and everybody does, but I've never read the books, never seen the movie, so I can't comment too much. Chrome says two incidents immediately come to mind. One in Animal Kingdom, a guy was put in charge of handling the queue for the fast food thing. Someone literally had to come over to talk to him because he'd messed up that bad. Ooh, yeah, I'm surprised, Chrome. The only thing I'm not going to make excuses for them. The only thing I can say is you were there while they were still trying to fill positions. I know because it took them a long time after the pandemic to be able to start or to get all the positions filled that they needed. But the time we were there while they were still in the act of it, they were really good about always explaining to us. You know, they would be telling people, let me see this is about, they would be telling people, okay, we're short staffed and this is what we're doing to try and accommodate you anyway type thing. But again, I'm not trying to make excuses for them. I just know that was happening. See, we're going back. I'd rather not be doing Disney right at the moment, but when we left New York, of course, my grandkids were crushed. That was one of the hardest things about leaving New York. And they said, oh, you know, they're kids. And they were like, oh, well, that's it. We'll never get to do Disney together again, blah, blah, blah. And we promised them that in 2023, because they went in 2021, we would take them again. So I cannot let them down. So we're going at the end of June. As a matter of fact, you guys who are with me at the Goosh, you Gooshers, I will be posting about that soon because I'll be getting ahead on videos. And I always like to let you guys know if I'm significantly ahead just for our conversations that we have and stuff. Excuse me, I got to check something here. Speaking of the Goosh, I have to check something over at the Goosh. Jack Queen says, I've never heard of Harry Potter. Is that the thing with the purple dinosaur? Oh, I always hated him. I always hated Barney. The heck? What's going on there? Get on my phone. How the hell do I get hairs on things? Oh, it's got to be from the dog. I was gonna say, how does hair get on my phone? All right, come here. You're not making this easy for me. I just have to check something over at the Goosh. I got to remember to do it while I'm on here, and it won't load. What if I turn it this way? Now it loads. Okay. All right, getting there. Chrome says the second one, and maybe you can explain it to me. We had a guy in Hollywood studio who split the queue in half at the pizza place. One half to his left, one half to his right. But he was the only one serving people. So it wasn't because there were two servers to shorten the queue. He somehow thought it would be I can't explain that one to you, Chrome. I don't know what the hell that's about. The only time I've seen them do that is if, and I don't know if this is the case, the only time I've seen anything like that is if a line is getting too long and interfering with something else that's going on, they'll split it into a couple of lines to make it wider and not longer. Outside of that, I don't know why he would have done that. No idea. But I have seen them rearrange lines for a litany of different things because it's running into another line or because it's out. There are places in Magic Kingdom where a line can stretch into a path of one of the parades, but that's all I can think of. Austin says favorite Disney movie. Mine is Finding Nemo. Oh, Finding Nemo was great. My favorite series of movies ever, including the Rocky movies, the Godfather movies, all of them, is still Toy Story. I absolutely love it. Rick says that should get for fucking your phone. Pubic hair as a bitch. My phone's not cute enough. Should have got the pink one. Chrome says, now that I could understand, but the queue wasn't long enough for that. That's really weird. You also reminded me about the phone thing where the woman we talked to on the phone about the boathouse was rude to my dad. Yeah, I've had, like I say, not horrible experiences, but the only cast member interactions we've had where it's been negative at all has been on the phone, unfortunately. But I am surprised to hear about the other things because in the parks they've been amazing. I can give you a whole list of times that, just random cast members went out of their way to do things for you and to make the experience better. I told you guys about the time where the one kid was actually not even on duty. He was leaving for the day and took the time to, Braxton was just little, to react to Braxton in his pirate get up and just absolutely made his day. Austin says, would you like to have one more match? I think about it sometimes. I'd be sore. I could do it, but I wouldn't do it unless I really got down and worked out for several months so I'd have the lungs. It's the cardio that I don't have to do it. It's not that I couldn't take the beating, but I'm not going to go out and put on a shit match because I can't breathe. Because I'm out of gas, do a Chief J Strongbow match where you're out of gas 30 seconds in. Chrome says, don't get me wrong, I still love going to Disney again, and we went at the perfect time because no ride queue is longer than 40 minutes. Wow, that's really good. Outside Star Wars, and again, the character staff was fantastic. Yeah, it's too bad you had issues like that. The only thing I can tell you, if it's any consolation, just from being a veteran of going so much, that's rare. That's really rare. Staff is usually, again, it's what keeps me going back. They are just so nice, so sweet all the time. AQ Mail says, love your Filthy Frank reaction videos. Thanks. I've been rewatching it a lot. Oh, Papa Frank was a blast. What do you think about George Miller after ending the Filthy Frank era? George Miller. Is that the one who is Filthy Frank too? If it is, if that's who we're talking about, I don't have anything against him. I just never got into it. It's just, I don't know. It's like Papa Franco is gone. It's over. No, I haven't. I've watched only cartoons, Mortem, but I haven't seen the Harry Potter series. You know what it is? I'm sure there would be a lot with not having watched the movies or read the books. I'm sure there would be a lot of content and a lot of jokes that I likely wouldn't get. I would think anyway, just because I know nothing about the series other than the basics. Excuse me, guys. I'm just making another video available. Come on. You can do it, video. And there. Look says, so Curtis, have you heard about the new mature Christopher Robin movie they're making where he's a drug addict adult and the animals are all hallucinations? No, I didn't hear about that. First we got the blood and gore Winnie the Pooh movie, and now we got that. That's pretty good. Philip says, here in Canada, the government workers union went on strike after Trudeau already gave them a raise and they got to work from home. When you know it, the Trudeau government caved. No. Again, Philip, you know how I feel about Justin Trudeau. Same way you feel about Justin Trudeau. Chrome says, Boathouse staff was very friendly, but those are more premium high-end places, so they obviously have higher standards. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see the first one. On the bright side, for the most part, the issues were just with the food-related staff. The woman in the Star Wars store selling lightsabers was knowledgeable, and the Boathouse staff, gotcha. Yeah, see, I've never run into that, Chrome. Even, I've eaten at the quick service at the most inexpensive resorts on property and never had an issue. Again, the worst we've ever seen at the parks is somebody that just didn't look particularly motivated to be there. Then again, I get, who of us doesn't go to work some days and be like, oh man, I don't feel like doing this. It's, it's all of us. So I kind of get that. But Disney, as I said, is right up front with them and tells them, you have to come in feeling it, being it, acting it, portraying it every day, or we don't have a use for you. Austin says, have you ever watched Pinky and the Brain and Any More Amazing World of Gumball? I've seen Pinky and the Brain. It's not something I followed a lot. I've seen bits of it here and there. There's always a chance for more Gumball videos. I love Gumball. Jack says, telling Philip, in the meantime, teacher and nurses here aren't getting paid enough to survive. On strike again tomorrow, another march that the government will ignore. Should be fun. The world's in just a tough place right now. An abysmal place right now, unfortunately. As I said, in my 61 years here, I've never seen it quite this bad. It's unfortunate. Excuse me, guys. Mortem says, it's really basic, just a lot of crude Harry Potter based humor. You wouldn't have even needed to see the film. Oh, because that's, I mean, I didn't turn away from it because of that, but it's probably why it never caught my attention, because I like Oni films. Yeah, and that's how I got into anime, was with Dragon Ball Z Abridged, and having never seen the original. Chrome says, I did get a good laugh at watching it, at least. It was a spectacle at times. What I did learn was that Disney really wants people to use their app to buy food at those places instead of serving them. Well, that I can tell you, they really started pushing the app just because it helps cut down on wait times. And then they were pushing it hard while they were trying to get all the employees back. But they were right up front about that. They said, having the app, having you able to pre-order on the app and everything, they said that's us trying to help you not stand in so many lines. So that one I can give them. That's why they did all that. They have invested literally billions over the last 10, 15 years in tech, between the whole, when they first came out with the wristbands and all the different scanners and being able to hook everything together in your trip so that it's as easily accessible as possible. And, you don't even have to go to the front desk when you check in. We haven't gone to the front desk. I couldn't tell you how long to check in. So that one I get. That's why they did it, because they're just trying to cut down on lines. And if you've already ordered on your own, and you get a big number of people who have ordered on their own and are not standing there at the counter looking and deciding what they want, you're making the lines a lot shorter for everybody. Seasick Viking says, I've never been one for Disney, to be honest. I prefer Universal because I love seeing automatons like Rex and Munchie, Trex from JP and Sharks from Jaws. And right now, Viking, I'll tell you guys, if anybody, and you guys know my family's all Disney nuts, but I will tell you right now, if you want to go to a theme park and you're going, do I go to Disney? Do I go to Universal? It's not even fucking close. You will get so much more bang for your buck right now at Universal. It's insane. And it's targeted. Universal's got that new park opening, and they have said they felt like Disney, especially after the pandemic, when we're coming out of the pandemic, was like being lackadaisical about their parks and their offerings. So they took a lot of things away and shit like that. And Universal said, we're gonna overtake them. And they are doing their damnedest to do just that. I'll tell you, holy shit. The deals you can get at the rooms, the park tickets, everything at Universal right now is insane. And the current offers go right till the end of the year. It's crazy. So if you're thinking of going to Orlando for theme parks and you don't have a specific preference, it's not even close which one you should go to. Gotcha, Chrome. There's logic in it, but I don't have an American bank account. We paid in cash, so I'd have to pay an extra charge to use that app. I'm going to set up an American Express account for next 4. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, but that is why they were doing it though. That one again, that one I can give them because that's why they push it so hard. Is they're just trying to keep lines down for everybody. AQ Mail says Disney's Indiana Jones 5 will release soon. Do you think it'll be good? I have never been a huge Indiana Jones fan. Um, I always get a little nervous the further they go into a movie series. Just like I really didn't want them to make Toy Story 4 because I love the Toy Story series so much. They got away with that. I think Toy Story 4 was good. It wasn't my favorite of the four, but it ranked third. It didn't rank last. And now they're making 5 of that, and I still have the same feeling. It's like, do we have to? Why keep tempting fate? Why keep taking a chance you're going to ruin the series? And that's, if I was a big Indiana Jones fan, I think that's how I'd be feeling about number 5 there as well. Jack says, I have to fire 4 people on Wednesday, Curtis. Oof. Teachers and good ones because the government refused to fund schools. We can only afford 6 glue sticks per classroom. Oof. That's rough. That is really rough. See, I do like the school choice things that they're rolling out in a lot of states here, where they fund the individual student rather than the schools. But again, we're dealing with another thing they came up with, and I've been harping about this for years. Now you have people on the right here saying abolish the IRS. I've been saying that for years. The IRS is bloated, even though they complain they don't have enough people working there, and they're bloated because our tax structure is stupid. We need to our tax code is absolutely psychotic. It's so complicated. It needs to be stripped down. If you don't want to go to flat rate, that's fine. But it needs to be stripped down to the barest minimums. And then you wouldn't even need the IRS. You know, the little bit of oversight you would need to have, you could just start a new government-funded organization, get the IRS name right off of it, and have this small crew that basically would just need to be there for questions from corporations and stuff like that. But if you strip the tax code down so you didn't have all these tax breaks and this, that, and the other, or what I like even better, they're talking about getting rid of the IRS, getting rid of taxes altogether, and then you would have a percentage added to your purchases, mainly your upper end purchases. I think that's a way better idea. The economists that I've seen, and it's not me that's just quoting what I've seen from others. I don't have the brain capacity for that. But the economists I've seen, and I've seen several of them, have said, yes, the average taxpayer would come out a little bit ahead doing it that way. But it can't happen because one side had the idea. And so now the other side is dead set against it because it wasn't their idea. Dimmy says, anything to stop my drawers full of receipts. Yeah, Dimmy, I mean, and me too with doing this. It's just crazy. Crazy. It's like the tax code in this country is just, it goes on and on endlessly. We all know what a nightmare it is. If you run a business or if you're self-employed like I am, it is an absolute nightmare. And it doesn't need to be. It could be so simple. There's no reason for it to be complicated. And then you would get everyone paying their fair share too, because you wouldn't have loopholes. You wouldn't have all these ridiculous deductions. You make X amount and you pay X amount. Or as I said, better yet, nobody pays taxes and you put a percentage surcharge on goods that we buy. The more you buy, the more you pay. And that's why I was trying to come up with the word is VAT. Thank you, Chrome. Says that's what we have, VAT plus all of our other taxes. And yeah, that's what I'm saying too, Chrome. It would make the most sense here. And the big thing, and I haven't even heard anybody point this out yet, what you have to remember too is if you shifted basically your income tax to the goods that you buy, now you're putting that out there in a competitive situation. So, okay, when you buy a new PC, you're going to pay 20% more. You're going to pay 20% on top of the price for the taxes. Now you're making Walmart compete against Amazon to get your business, especially now because you got that extra fee to pay on top. Everybody's going to be looking for the best deals. Now, Amazon and Walmart are going to go to the suppliers, the computer makers, Dell, whoever it may be, HP, and they're going to say, you need to give me a good fucking deal. Because if you don't, I'm going to somebody else. Somebody will give me a better deal. When you get that competition working, we win. When the government is in charge of the taxes, it's just like, just give us more. All of Congress needs a yacht. Give us more. There'd be no more of that. Ferret Lover says, who do you hate more than Brian in Family Guy? Like greased up deaf guy. I don't think there's anybody I hate more than Brian. Brian's such a douche. He wasn't that bad early on, but man, as the show went on. And I mean, don't get me wrong, he's still good. It's not I hate the character. The character's a great character because he is such an asshole. But as far as hating him, yeah. That value-added tax, and trust me, it won't work out. It doesn't work here. Because I will say this, O'Chrome, because something isn't working well elsewhere doesn't mean it can't work. It's just like capitalism in general. I believe capitalism is a phenomenal system, but it's entirely corrupted here. So it can work. It just needs to work without the the interference of politicians who are basically trying to get bigger pieces of the pie. But that's true no matter what system you use. Jack says, Emma's self-employed, and she's gone into great detail about how ridiculous your tax code is. Oh, it's unbelievable, Jack. I feared for my life a few times when she explained it. She said some mean things to me, hurtful things. Jack, I can totally empathize with them. When I'm doing my taxes, everybody stays away from me. And again, and that's a lot of the reason why. It's because I see all the hoops I have to jump through. It's like, this is so fucking stupid. When you get into doing it, you can see how easy it could be. And they just won't do it. And the most common reason that they won't do it is because a lot of these intricacies that make the tax code so complicated benefit rich people. Exactly, Nolan. That's happened to me. But if the tax code made sense, how would the government swindle you out of more dollars by claiming you made a mistake when filing? That's exactly happened to me, Nolan. Not by the Fed, by the state. New York State, the one year, I was filing my taxes, and I owed a fee. I didn't pay enough during the year, so I owed them a fee. So I had that fee calculated when I filed my taxes, and New York State said, okay, this is what you owe us extra. A few weeks later, I get another bill in the mail, and it says, you had an underpayment penalty. You owe us this now. It was like a couple $100. So I called up. I said, I paid you guys my underpayment penalty. It went right with my taxes. And she looks it up and she goes, oh, yeah, well, we misfigured it the first time. You owed us more. And there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it. Nothing. Because the government said so. Now, if a private company tried to do that to you, go buy something at a store and have them come back to you later and say, well, we charged your credit card a little more because we decided we really didn't charge enough for that. They'd be put out of business. And the owners would go to jail. But the government can do it all they want. Nacho says, meanwhile, major corporations can reap the benefits of small and big businesses without the consequences of either. Correct. Chrome says, tariffs and slash the government bloat, but they won't do it because then they'd be slashing their own paychecks. You got it, Chrome. That's why, again, people talk all the time about, well, which system of government is the best? The socialists hate the capitalists hate the socialists, blah, blah, blah. None of it matters if the government is corrupt and people within the government are corrupt. And whatever system you have in place isn't running the way it is designed to run, it's all going to suck. And that's exactly what we have. 100%. Chrome says the government is the biggest monopoly out there. Absolutely. Nolan says you owed $1337.80, but you only paid $1337.79. So now we're slapping you with a $300 fee. Not far off from the truth, Nolan. And then, like I said, I checked. I did. I checked in with the state through the service I use to file my taxes. Was told, okay, this is what you owe. And then they come back later, and when I call, they say, oh no, it was miscalculated. You owe us more than that. And there's nothing you can do. Mortem says, doing the founding fathers proud. American government, fuck freedom, I guess. Yeah, well, think about it too. They talk about how Social Security is always on the verge of going bankrupt. Now, my generation, the boomers, are the ones heading into retirement age now. We're called the boomers because it was a population boom. There were tons of us, and all of us were from the era that paid into Social Security. If that money had stayed only for Social Security and was invested as it was supposed to be, very conservatively, so that, there would be big returns year after year, we would be flush with money. Social Security should be super solvent right now. But it isn't, because politicians took from Social Security for decades. Well, I've got this pet project, and a lot of people in my district, boy, it would really help a lot of them out, and I would probably get reelected. I'm just going to take this. And that went on from both sides for years. And now they look at us and say, well, we don't know what to tell you. We don't know if we're going to be able to keep funding Social Security. Sorry, you paid into it all those years. And had you just taken that same money and put it into a private fund, you'd be rolling in it. But, our bad. That's it. Chrome says, well, that's my argument. Any government will eventually become corrupt. Sad but true. So the best thing to do is get out of your life as much as possible. It's a legal monopoly with the right to harm you. I couldn't agree with you more. And I didn't always feel that negatively, but now it's just a fact. Kyle says, I think Solo is going to attack the Usos tonight at Raw. I think that's coming. I wouldn't be surprised, Kyle. Yeah, I think that's on its way. Agreed. Chrome says, I'm praying Mario reaches highest grossing animated film of all time. Something needs to overthrow that awful live action Lion King. Yes, that's the current number one at 1.6 billion, followed by Frozen 2. Wow. Mortem says, I want to buy a new Lambo Ferrari, but like for the people though. Ah, yes, that's good politics. And the sad thing is, especially with getting to talk to you guys and everything, it's worldwide. How our governments just continue to fuck us left and right. And there are solutions, especially for us. Regardless of how you go about it. To me, one of the most obvious corrections we should make in our day-to-day life is just massively simplifying the tax code. And I know, again, going to flat tax frightens a lot of people. I don't see where that's that big a deal. But you don't even have to go that far. But there are so many ways you could make the tax code so much simpler. Like even me with owning my own business, it should be simple. I should be able to go in and say, okay, this is what I made from Google. This is what I made from Patreon. Here, with receipts, I can show you this is what I paid for equipment and supplies to run my business. Subtract that from those first figures. This is what I earned. Now I owe you X amount. That should be it. That should be all there is to it. Excuse me. And it's anything but. It's, well, do you qualify for this deduction? No. Well, did you take this? When you earn that money, did you put X amount here and X amount there? No. Well, there's a penalty for that. What the fuck? Why make everything so complicated? Nolan says, for public servants, politicians sure have a funny way of making us do all the work while they kick back and roll in the dollars. Yeah. Isn't that sad when you think about it, that we pay their salaries for them to treat us like shit? Jesus Christ. Willie says, Disney is shitting themselves right now after being outshined by Mario, and the inevitable fail of Little Mermaid will make them look like fools. Yeah, and it sucks for me too, Willie, because as you guys know, we're big Disney fans of the theme parks. And guess who's paying for everything at Disney? The theme parks. Because the movies are doing jack shit. The movies are hemorrhaging money. The Disney Plus service, the streaming service, is hemorrhaging money. And the parks are making big money. And so they just keep trying to squeeze every little bit they can out of the parks to support the other failing portions of their company. Ferret Lover says, I believe actors and athletes make disgusting money as well as government. That money can be used for people who need it in SSI. Now, see, there we disagree, Ferret, only because at least when we're talking athletes, you have to remember, at least with an athlete, they're only getting paid by what the population says is their value. Your tax dollars aren't paying the athletes. So if if people are spending big money to go watch football games, to go watch baseball games, and they're buying the merchandise, and they're buying the merchandise with that athlete's face on it, they're generating that revenue. And if you don't give it to the players, then you give it to the owners. Because, again, now we're talking outside the area of tax dollars. You're talking about what people are willingly spending their money on. An athlete makes that much money because people choose to buy their product. And again, if you don't give it to the athletes, the millionaires, then it goes to the owners, the billionaires. So there I would disagree. Nolan says taxation is theft. Objective fact. You don't fork up the money. People with guns come to your home business and do bad things to you. Well, I don't go as far as that. Because I think taxation is necessary if you want to live in a society with at a certain level of convenience. But we are entirely overly taxed. Obviously overly taxed. Taxpayers are paying for the stadium. Some stadiums. It depends, Shark. It depends. But then again, that has nothing to do with the money that the players make. And if taxpayers pay for the stadiums, it's because they voted for it. So then you just got to look at your fellow community members for that blame. Because those things, at least every place I've known of, like when it happened in Buffalo, those go up for individual votes, and the taxpayers voted to fund it. And in some places, they voted not to fund it as well. Dimmy says there was a Batman episode where Joker handed money to the IRS. He said, I may be crazy, but I'm not messing with the IRS. Ain't that the truth? Jack says, what do you think about Vince returning to WWE? I think the business is past him by, Jack. I think his creativity within the business is dog shit, unfortunately. I think it's much better when Triple H is just left alone to run the creative side. Now, if he wants to still be a suit and be a part of the organization, I don't care. But when he starts getting involved in creative, he tends to turn things to shit. Chrome says there's a logic in that. At least it's to increase tourism and commerce. True. Oh, sure. I mean, having a pro football team in your city brings in tons and tons and tons of revenue. And again, that's voted on by voters. So the voters say, hey, we're going to help pay for the stadium. There's not much you can do. Again, it was your fellow citizen that put it in place. But as far as the salaries, that's because people come to that stadium, spend a lot of money on the tickets, and spend a lot of money on the concessions, and spend a whole lot of money on the merchandise. That's where all that comes from. Shark Dentures says, wrong. Minneapolis, Minnesota years ago voted against the sports stadium, and the city council overruled the voters. Yay, democracy. I'm not, and I don't know about that, Dentures. I don't remember that. But there's always going to be an anomaly in anything. But typically speaking, following sports like I do, it is put to a vote. Now, if your city council overruled, who voted in the city council that overruled it? Again, you're still chasing it right back to your fellow citizens. And it doesn't really have anything to do with the original discussion about athletes making too much money, because even if that stadium wasn't built, they would have continued in the digs they had or improved them because the owners have plenty of money to do such things. They just prefer, obviously, they prefer not to if they can get the community to do it. But it doesn't really have anything to do with how does that change the fact that it was stated that the athletes shouldn't make big money. Are people still not buying tickets to go? Are they still not buying the merch? Because that's where their salaries come from. Willie says they did it to themselves. Oh, Disney. Making activist advertisements instead of films, antagonizing fans, and even pissing off DeSantis. You don't have to be like him, but how stupid could they be? Yeah, I agree with you there too, Willie. DeSantis has gone way too overboard with this thing, with this whole battle with Disney. It's like, come on, stop having you're having a big dick contest with a mouse. Enough is enough. But you're right. There, instead of making new entertainment, Disney has fallen into a cycle of trying to repackage old entertainment, and that's not doing well for them. Jack says athletes do make too much money, though. It's not immoral or corrupt. It's just like, really, for playing a kids game? But how do you come to that determination it's too much money, though, Jack? See, that's what I'm getting at. How is it too much money if that money came from people willingly spending their money to watch them play that game? It might seem, it is extreme. Not seem extreme, it is. But the money's there for a reason. It's because the people wanted to see it. That's the problem. So again, all that money has been generated by this team. If it doesn't go to pay the athletes, where should that money go? Because if it doesn't go to them, it's going into the pockets of the owners. Kyle says, I hope Solo attacks the Usos tonight. Like I say, I think it's coming at some point soon. Austin says, what do you think about the Big Boss Man? Ray, he was a good guy. Good guy. But I never got to meet him myself, but I know a lot of people that worked with him and said he was a good dude. Chrome says, DeSantis is pretty much ruining himself at this point. He has hurt himself. I agree with getting rid of Reedy Creek, but now he's getting petty. Entirely petty. He's plummeting in the polls. He's at 20% compared to Trump in the 2024 poll. Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Chrome. And I told you, of the eligible candidates, I've always liked DeSantis, or the likely candidates. But enough is enough. And not just because I'm a Disney freak. It's as you put it perfectly. He's just become so fucking petty about it. It's just a dick contest now. Jacqueline says, again, it's not immoral or corrupt. It's just ridiculous amount for an essential child game. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you want to say the money they make is crazy, I agree with you. It's absolutely insane how much they make. But I'm just saying I never complain about it because, well, I'm one of the people that's helping to pay their salaries. Because I go to games, and I buy the merchandise. So it'd be hypocritical for me to sit here and say, oh, man, they didn't earn that. And I know that's not what you're saying, but I'm just, from my perspective, that's why I'm one of the people doing it. And I would rather have, if it comes down to a choice, I'd rather have that guy that I enjoy watching play every week have the money than the rich fuck up in the ultimate suite watching the game because he owns the team have the money. Chrome says, I'm currently studying in a financial service course. One of my classes kind of devolved into, now here's how to legally do tax avoidance. I have never and will never pay taxes legally. To survive, you have to. You have to find every possible loophole. Luke says, damn, they even got Santa. DeSantis running for president. What's the world coming to? Nolan says, if we're talking petty, let's talk Trump bashing DeSantis. That was petty too, 100%. Who hasn't even declared he's running. And basically saying if he gets the nomination, I'll tell my supporters not to vote for him. Yeah, but Trump has a history of pettiness. Trump has a lifetime of pettiness. He's a well-documented individual. He's always been wildly petty. And it's ridiculous for him to go after somebody who hasn't even declared yet and go after him with that kind of, listen, if you got better ideas, well, Trump's never does things that way. I was going to say, if you got better ideas than him, let us hear them. But with Trump, it's always just going to be personal attacks. Dimmy says, were there any obnoxious audience at your wrestling shows, or have you had hecklers during your stand? Oh, sure. Everybody has hecklers. Everybody has hecklers. I'm very aggressive with hecklers. I used to go right back at them really hard. Sure, you have wild. Oh, fans at wrestling are always wild. We try and get them tweaked up. But yeah, you can't do stand up for any length of time and not have hecklers. Typically, it's just people that have over imbibed, had too much to drink, and now they need attention. Chrome says it's not a bad joke, by the way. Outside of that, I have never paid taxes, and it's perfectly legal because I know enough about legal loopholes. I agree with you, Chrome. You have to. You absolutely have to. I think that's great that you know them. We need to, and oh man, in the current state of affairs with taxes the way they are, we have to take advantage of everything that's out there. Nitram says, with the reintroduction of the world title, do you think the WWE will keep the WWF belt on Reigns until he beats Bruno's record? I don't think they. No, I don't think so. Nitram. He's if he's coming up on 1,000 days, well, that's a little short of 3 years. He's got 4.5 years to go. Nah, I don't think they will. I don't think, to be honest with you, I don't think the fans will stand for it. It's a whole different world of pro wrestling now than was when, Bruno was my favorite when he was champ. Now, I could be wrong. That's just my opinion. Maybe they will. But I don't think it would be good business. Dimmy says, recently I was at a comedy show here in Atlanta. There was a heckler that wouldn't stop. He was so bad that the audience got on him and chewed him out. I've had that happen too. Yeah, and that happens more often than you think, especially if the show's going well and everybody's laughing, having a good time. You get a heckler like that, a lot of times the audience will turn on them hard and take care of business themselves. That happens a lot. Chrome says, oh, by the way, Nintendo just did something great recently. They announced a general pay raise for all workers starting this year. Monolith Soft, one of their devs, is going up 22% for all workers. That's cool. Oh, that's cool. That's a nice way to spread the wealth a little. Excuse me. Nolan says, Trump with that, if you don't let me be team captain, I'm taking my ball and going home energy. That's why I've told you guys, I voted for Trump twice, and I can't, as far as a person, I can't stand him. I never have liked him. Being a native New Yorker, we've heard about Trump for decades, and I have never liked him. I've always thought he's an obnoxious person. Donald Trump is the kind of person that if I had to be in a room with him, in a small situation with a small group of people, I think within 5 minutes the Secret Service would be beating me down because you'd almost have. How do you not want to punch him in the face? He's so obnoxious. It's terrible for me being somebody who, again, I lean right now, but I've always been in the middle, and I'm willing to vote for either side. It's sad that we have sides, but now you had somebody like Obama, who I didn't agree with on much of any platitudes, but he always struck me as a good dude. Obama, and I could be wrong. I don't know the man personally. He just seems like he'd be somebody fun to hang out with. And then Trump, I voted for twice based on him being more in line with my own policy beliefs, and I just can't stand him. It would be nice to have somebody who could epitomize both. I could actually vote for that person and not have to hold my nose while I do it. I am Mr. Wall says, why didn't we have Mitt Romney against Bernie for 2020? I don't think right now, I don't think there's a chance in hell for a socialist candidate to win in America. Bernie would take the big cities and pretty much get whitewashed throughout the rest of the country. Willie says, speaking of Nintendo, I'm just waiting to hear about their Zelda and Metroid films. With the success of Mario, they're on their way for sure. Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be real interesting. Yes, Austin, Biden is running again. Chrome says, I don't blame Trump for calling DeSantis out. I 100% believe that DeSantis is doing backdoor deals with his old neocon buddies. Oh, also, he's trying to implement a new hate speech law. I'm not sure what you're talking about, the hate speech law, but yeah, see, for me, it's just, I do blame Trump for calling him out. I don't think there's any need for him to call him out. I think if you were honestly, okay, if you're going to honestly represent the Republican Party, and I don't think Trump is, he's representing Donald Trump. If you wanted to honestly represent the Republican Party, you still understand that even if you lose the primary to DeSantis, you still want a Republican president because he will be in line with your beliefs. But I don't think that's even remotely what Donald Trump is about. Donald Trump is about Donald Trump and nothing and no one else. Lick says, this is what I get for not paying much attention to U.S. politics as much lately. Y'all talking some wild shit. Don't pay attention to it, Lick. It'll make your head hurt. Truth says, hey, I saw your retirement video at Rage in the Cage. It's on YouTube. Yeah, I saw that's out there. That was just the that was just a little interview I did outside the cage or something, right? I did see that out there. All right, guys. Well, I gotta go. This is a fun stream. This is a really good time. Thank you guys for hanging out with me in this. This was a blast. I love to get back to streaming whenever I can, but I still got some editing to do. And again, in the coming days, I'll be, you guys who are Gooshers, I'll be giving you updates because we are doing that June trip. And this month, I'm gonna have a couple days where I'm running back and forth to New York, bringing Brax down here. So I'm gonna be stacking up some videos ahead of time, and I'll be giving you guys a heads up on that. So you know right where we stand. Thank you for all the conversation. Oh, Jack said, fuck me. Wait a second. Now everything turned. Now this is an offer I have to look. All right. We'll just continue. but again, thank you guys. I appreciate you hanging out with me. These conversations are always so much fun. And I will talk to you guys again as soon as I can.